It's the same receivers. We got DK Metcalf, Jaxon Smith and Njigba, Tyler Lockett. And DK Metcalf is the rock, and he's been elite for some time now, but he finished as the wide receiver 21 last season. Kind of a down year for DK standards, right? He's been, he's had 3 straight top 16 finishes. And I mean, he had over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. He has 66 receptions. So that's the big number that dropped. That's the lowest since his rookie year on only 119 targets, which is also the lowest since his rookie season. Jaxon Smith and Njigba came into the fold, and, Geno played. He was locked in with DK the year before. It's like this ball got spread around a little bit more than it did the season previous. So he only had 3 games under double-digit touchdowns, which are double-digit fantasy points, which lets me know that he's either going to get it with the yards, he's going to get it with the touchdowns, or potentially with the catches. But the volume is concerning. The dip in volume is very concerning for DK, as his team does look to get their younger player, Jaxon Smith and Njigba, who's a first-round pick, involved. I mean, he was a star at Washington, but DK himself has been a star in the league for so long and is just now entering his prime. He was drafted young, only 26 years old. Like, there's a lot more to grow when it comes to DK Metcalf. So I'm kind of confused here because I want to say DK can be still an elite fantasy performer. And if we can get him out, in this wide receiver 20 to 25 range, I think there's a lot of value for DK Metcalf. But this offense is changing, and we don't know what it's going to look like this upcoming season. There's going to be some change, and is it going to be DK's the focus? JSN's the focus? Still a lot to be determined. There's a lot of valuable pieces within this offense, and DK is the cornerstone of it. It's just, are we going to get more of the DK we saw from last year with less targets, or are we going to get an increased usage out of him, which I kind of doubt. I think he's going to hover around the same value, somewhere in the 15 to 20 range when it comes to receivers. Might get a little bit of value on him, but the upside that we're used to and accustomed to having with DK just doesn't seem like it's there with this offense. With JSN there, like I said, we had a lot of hype for Jaxon Smith and Njigba coming into this season. Obviously came in, he had an injured hand coming into the year. It took him a while to get going. He was the wide receiver 48 on the season, which we were expecting more. Just put it that way. We're expecting more out of JSN. He had 63 catches, 628 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And that was also in the third. He was a third on the pecking order when it came to receivers. He was behind Tyler Lockett and behind DK Metcalf. I think this season we have to assume, seeing that Tyler Lockett took a reduction in pay, we have to assume JSN is going to be a more vital part of the offense this year, and he'll need to show it, obviously. He should have more volume this year, a lot more volume. I would expect that at least, and he seemed to be pretty happy about the coordinator change this offseason, talking about it. So he could look different. He could look different this year, but we also need to see it. I'm expecting some promise, but until Tyler Lockett is completely out of the fold, I'm not expecting like this rise to top 15 wide receiver. I think he'll look more like a wide receiver 3 this season for our fantasy teams, more like a top 25 to 30 receiver in real football. But he's going to need to take a big step up in either receptions department, the yardage department, or the touchdown department in order to see it. It wouldn't surprise me if he had his first 1,000-yard season, but it would shock me to see him with like 8 to 10 touchdowns or anywhere around the 80 catch marker. So I like JSN. I think he'll have a better season this year. Not the leap that you might be hoping for, especially if you're rostering him in Dynasty. And then as far as Tyler Lockett goes, after 6 straight seasons in the top 20, he finished as a wide receiver 32. It was time. And, he's getting older now. He's 31. He still had a strong season, 79 catches, 894 yards, and 5 touchdowns. It's just 5 times undefeated. And in this offense, he's kept himself healthy over the years, even though he has a smaller frame. It's just his role is going to be decreasing now that JSN is another year here in Seattle. So he restructured his contract to stay in Seattle, as I mentioned before, but this is going to be the DK and JSN show, and Tyler Lockett, unfortunately, is going to be the third piece in that receiving core this season instead of being the second. So, I like Tyler Lockett, and he could be a value depending on where his ADP is, but for now, I'm probably staying away. There's just not a whole lot of upside, and the writing's kind of on the wall for him to have a down season. Now, could he provide a top 40 season fantasy-wise? I 100% think that. And he's a good enough to receiver to where he's still going to make himself available. He has rapport with Geno Smith. It's just, we know this offense is going to look a little different, and the passing attack is going to be led through, like I said, the 2 initials, DK and JSN.